Hello, welcome to HSBN's Understanding Why. Got a brand new episode for you this week. Super excited to bring to you one of my good friends. I'll introduce her in just a moment. We have a special guest, and her name is Jessica Long. I do want to take a moment before we say hi to her to just thank you again for all your support with HSBN Networks. We do so much with the little that we've been able to steward so far, and every time you guys support and donate, we're just able to do more and more with that. And it reaches so many countries and so many lost people that need to hear the gospel. So we really do appreciate your time and consideration that you take with this network. Now, to my special guest, Jessica, I'd like to all to say hi. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate
You're
you
welcome.
taking the time. Jessica's actually stationed in Dallas right now, Dallas, Texas, where we both went to Christ for the Nations Bible College. That's a shameless little plug that I'll just throw out there. But it's a great Bible college out there. You know, as all schools and institutions, their hits and their misses. But they hit two out of the park, and I'm one of them, and Jessica's another one. So, you're welcome, world. Um, Jessica, so if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Just start out with a general introduction of where you're at right now and where you're originally from, things of that nature.
Well, I grew up as a Air Force kid. If we're gonna go all the way back, so I don't really have a home base. So traveling's always been a really big part of my life, and yeah, I currently at the moment I am about to start nursing school. So, and then work my way to becoming a doctor and all that good stuff. Yeah, I recently moved to Dallas, so made a big change, and so far it's been going pretty smooth. Very much love it.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, I'm definitely not one to ever go to nursing school because takes way too much work. So props to you on that. I just decided to join the ministry instead. Um, Joke's on me because it's not less work. But yeah, though that's exciting. So I did want to talk a little bit. I do have a topic in mind, but of course, I do, since you are a special guest, I do want to focus on you. There's a couple songs that Jessica has prepared for us. She has a lovely voice. It's angelic and sweet and pure as a bell. So I really think everyone should hear it. So I definitely want to share that with you. And she prepared a couple songs, but I do want to take just a moment to talk about this topic before we get into the first song. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about, since I have you on and we shared education together, is I want to discuss a little bit about your thoughts on education versus experience, because that's a topic that comes up a lot, specifically in ministry, I think, whereas there's this almost little debate going on between which one's better, between whether or not someone, Bible college being like the end game for people, and that's the ultimate experience, quote unquote, one can have to reach that level of, I don't want to say holiness, but that's how some religious people would call it. And the difference between whether or not that's something we should be striving for is education versus experience, or whether it's something we really should be coming together and having a joint forces effort on it. So when it comes to education and experience, is there one that you credit more than the other in your personal development and relationship with the Lord?
I think they both go hand in hand,
Okay.
honestly. So, having to have been a worship leader in the past and then going to Christ for the Nations to pursue worship, I ended up learning a lot of great teaching, a lot of great values from that, but also there were things that you couldn't learn going to a Christian school that you have to learn when you're outside. You're actually talking to real people because you're not going to be going to a straitjacket uh, place every day
Yeah.
where Christians are
It's not a
constantly talking
bubble.
about Jesus. Jesus isn't everywhere to people. Like, he's foreign in
Yeah.
a lot of people's lives.
We're Jesus to everybody.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
so I think being able to, like, yes, education is very important, going to a Christian school, but also do not limit yourself to the outside world of things. So just take them both hand by hand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I do think it's important to note that experience is something that really has to be earned and gained rather than taught. I mean, education is something that you are it's passed down, it's taught, but experience is really something you can only do on your own. It's not something someone can't give you experience. They can teach you, and then it's your job whether or not to utilize and gain your own experience on the subject. So I do think I agree with you completely that the two are needed, and we really shouldn't have a debate about that. Let's take a break in the discussion of the education experience because I do want to make sure we have plenty of time for the lovely Jessica Long. So I wanna cut out to our first song for the episode because I do think it's important that you guys get a feel for where Jessica's heart is, and you'll hear it in her voice, trust me, what the Lord's doing with her, and it kind of brings together the idea of like God being all around us, and He's all encompassing, and that goes hand in hand with He's part of your education, and He's also part of that daily walk you have with Him and experiencing the relationship you have with Him that can't be taught because it's a personal relationship. So we're gonna cut out and we're gonna go visit one of my many hotspot locations that I like to sing in front of, and Jessica's gonna do a little special number for us, and then we'll be right back to continue our conversation. Thank you.
My hands are searching towards you. My arms are outstretched towards you. I feel you on my fingertips. My tongue dances behind my lips for you. A fire rising through my being, burning, I'm not used to seeing you. I'm alive, I'm alive. I can feel you all around me, thickening the air I'm breathing, holding on to what I'm feeling, savoring this heart that's healing. My hands float up above me, and you whisper you love me. And I begin to sway into her secret place. The music makes me sway. The angels singing sad, we are alone with you. I'm alive, I'm alive. I can feel you all around me, thickening the air I'm breathing, holding on to what I'm feeling, savoring this heart that's healing. And so I cry, holy, the light is white, holy, and I see you. Holy, I'm alive, I'm alive, still alive. I can feel you all around me, thickening the air I'm breathing, holding on to what I'm feeling, savoring this heart that's healing. I can feel you all around me, thickening the air I'm breathing, all around me, savoring.
Thank you for joining us back and listening. Wasn't that just a lovely song to hear? I mean, I really appreciate the effort and time that one takes to gain that kind of gifting. There's a lot of natural gifting that goes into that, but there is an educational background that goes in hand with that experience to gain that level of really gifting and anointing, which are two different things. We've talked about that in the past, the difference between those. And I think that kind of gifting and anointing are on similar wavelengths as education and experience, where when the two meet together is when the Lord really can do crazy, amazing things. And so we really should be treating them as best friends instead of antagonists. So to get back for a little bit before, I do want to hear your testimony too, because I think it's important for us to share our testimony, as the scriptures say. The blood of the lamb and the word of the testimony is the things that get people saved. So if we're not sharing what Jesus has done and how he's saved us, then we're hindering other people's ability and chances to get saved themselves. So it's not our testimony itself that is saving people. It's only Jesus, but he uses us, and he uses our testimony, and it's such a privilege for our words to be used by the Lord to bring people to salvation. So that's a real privilege and honor that we should all be taking advantage of every day. Now, education and experience, before we hear, because I do want to hear your testimony a little bit, to get back to that. Now, we went to Bible college together.
Yeah.
Lots of ups and downs, as with any school. This is not going to be a bashing of one's alma mater, because I'm sure everybody has some stories of some things they didn't like from their past educational facilities. But it is about things that you're taught and then things that you pick up, which are two different things.
Yep.
And in a way, I would almost say our school did, in a way, almost a better job of making sure that there were things we caught rather than taught. Not to say they didn't teach, because they did teach some amazing things. But I think one of the bigger aspects of at least my personal walk, and I'll ask you how you feel about it too, was it was really about what we caught and what the Lord was doing in our hearts and on a personal level, in our own experiences and walks that we have every day with him, that really was able to skyrocket. And so my question would be, if you're walking with the Lord on your own and you don't have any education to bring perspective or focus to that experiences you have, what are some of the dangers that we as Christians sometimes face when we only emphasize experience and we're not willing to dive deeper in actually learning about what the Lord has to say?
So it's a very common thing nowadays to read the Bible and then not really dig into it, not really understand what was happening at the time, such as why there was a Bible verse about women having to wear all these gold chains and attire and not dressing fancy and all that stuff, and women's hair, you don't cut it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, people would be like, I went to a church a long time ago growing up, and they were very much, don't wear makeup, you can't wear the gold chains, you can't do this. And they took it out of context of what it truly actually meant.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important for somebody to be able to take time and study, truly study. And I think that's also a case where a lot of people nowadays do not understand the word, how to study.
Because education provides context.
Yes.
And that's what's really one of the most key ingredients in Bible learning is context.
Yes.
So, yeah. And our own experiences, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong with yourself, but at least with me, I'll form it in a question so that I can actually get your opinion on it, because they know my opinions on things. They're done with my opinions. When it comes to your experience, I mean, would you say if in things that you've experienced on your own that you didn't have any context learning on, or you didn't know how other people dealt with those situations, they're unique situations to you, and you didn't have any educational background, at least at the time, to back up what you were feeling, would you say that makes you more inclined to be self-centered, or lack empathy on the subject, or lack understanding of how to move forward out of that?
I think it comes down to a lot of common sense. We're already engineered in a certain way to be able to process things, to handle things. We have emotions for a reason. But I don't believe you can learn everything when you go to a college or a Christian school, no matter where you decide to go. I think it is very important for somebody to get their own personal experience, their own walk through life, because that's a way that a relationship can be built with God, with other people, and you can relate to others on another level that they thought they were feeling alone about, and that's actually not the case.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I actually have a friend that it's not so much education experience, but it kind of is because everything could be seen as an education. And if you would agree, education, it doesn't have to be limited to strictly like an institute where you go and you pick up books and you learn. Anything in which you're handed down information and taught something you normally wouldn't be able to pick up on your own would be considered an education. Parents, you are educators to your children. Elder siblings, you have the potential to be educators to your younger brothers and sisters. So don't limit yourself in education to one building or one area or even one church and saying, this is where I get all my information.
Yeah.
And all other information is somehow less than, because that's just not the case. Truth is truth, and education is education, regardless of the source. If it's coming from the Lord and it's accurate in your life, then it's education and it's truth. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And experience in itself, as you've had several experiences, and I want to hear about some of them when you talk about your testimony. Experience in itself is something that you personally get to go through, but it's not for you. I think a lot of times we forget that experiences we have in life, they're not meant to be just for us. Our personal experiences are meant to be teaching tools to bring education to other people, to either A, help them avoid said experiences that you didn't like, that were negative, or B, provide encouragement and instill hope for new experiences that are to come in these people's lives that are positive. And so education then becomes, education can become experience in your life when you apply it, and your experience can become education to other people, and it's a circle. It's a cycle of information being shared. And I think a good way, well, I'll ask you, when it comes to education and experience, would you say education is more, how do I phrase this? Is education more aimed towards the young or the old? Because I like to share specifically with my generation of Y, the millennials, but even Z, which I think, are you technically a Z or a Y? I'm trying to remember right now. I will never ask a woman her age, but I'm going to ask her generation. So I'll throw it out here. A Y would be technically, I think, 24 and older are a Y now. So younger than 24, so 23 and under, I believe at this point in time, is now a Z.
In which you got perfect. So I'm a Z.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a Z. Got it. So that should tell you the average age of the people in the Bible college I went. I felt like one of the older people. That's fine. I still look fantastic. So, yeah. So would you say what was my question again to you? Did we answer it?
We didn't answer it.
We didn't answer it. Okay.
We didn't answer it.
Okay. Do you remember it?
It was, oh shoot, I just lost it.
Okay, I'll rephrase it into what I believe I was trying to aim at. So education, when it comes to that, would you believe it's aimed more towards young or old? That's what I was trying to say exactly.
It's definitely aimed more towards the younger generation because they're like, get it out of the way, and then you have a career for the rest of your life and you'll make a good income, which I understand that, but I think there's a finding yourself process that
absolutely.
definitely has been taking its time on vamping itself up
to
the younger generation, because I took some time, I definitely took a break from college, from school and all of that to truly find out who I am, what I really want to do, and also go through some life-changing experiences where you grow more as a mature adult. So,
and with that, I do want to share, since we have not as much time, because I do want to have more time for your song, in that maybe you share a little bit about those experiences, whatever you're comfortable with, in sharing your testimony a little bit with people, so that they get a glimpse of what your experiences are, in hopes that they get educated a little bit for those that may be going through similar things or maybe struggling with whether or not they should make the same choices, and just share a little bit about where that led, and then how Jesus essentially came and got you out of those things.
Yeah. So really, without God, I wouldn't be here today. So to put it very shortly, very blatantly, is that I've dealt with depression, anxiety, and being raped, having a pregnancy and it turned into a miscarriage, being abused by people's words, also having to be put into a hospital because of eating disorder, having to go through a lot of terrible things, even being an atheist and all that stuff. And that's like barely skimming the surface. And it sounds like a lot of intense things. It was, but I think really it came down to it couldn't be anybody else's decision to become a Christian, to really take my own life. I had to give my own self to God and make that personal decision myself. I couldn't go off of other people's teachings. That is something that I do not believe you can get from institute. You have to actually go through it. So I couldn't say, okay, I'm going into heaven because my parents were Christians and that's what I believe, so I'm good. No, I couldn't do that. So it ended up coming down to me fighting God constantly for years on end. And I remember there was just this one part where I was very, very destructive towards myself, dealing with depression and having to like the same gender and all that. And I remember just listening to a song by Celine Dion, the queen. And a huge thing for me has always been music. And I can't do anything without an honest heart. Yeah. And something about it was, you can't sing this song. And for me, like, having to not be able to sing one song that wouldn't be true to me wrecked me. Yeah. And it was the song The Prayer out of all of them. And I loved it so much. And all of a sudden, it just like went into a war zone. And I'm a huge believer in spiritual warfare. Yeah. Just personal experiences. And I definitely believe that prayer has mighty impact. Yes. On people's lives. And like everything just went crazy. For me, having to see like these angels and demons and big battles going over everything. And I remember just feeling this pressure on my chest, and I just had this urge inside having to say, I don't want to be like this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I just felt so helpless, and I was lost and scared. And finally I was able to say it, and there was just this huge release. Yeah. And with that, since we're running out of time, I do want to get in, because she mentioned reckless and how God's love can sometimes be perceived as reckless. So I do want to introduce Jessica is going to be singing a song having to do with that for us. So if we could go out to the garden and, well, we're not going to go to the garden. I don't like the garden. We're going to go somewhere else and hear what Jessica has to say. And then we'll be back to just say goodbye and thank you again for coming.
So good to me. Before I breathed a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so good to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been good to me. When I was so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
That was so lovely to hear, and isn't it just like God to show up when we're most needing Him and unexpectedly, and just with His crazy, reckless love, which, not saying God is crazy or reckless, but His love can definitely be perceived that way. I'm just so thankful that we got to hear it. Thank you again for joining us, Jessica. I hope that you're able to come back again. I know it's a drive/flight for you. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your guys' time for listening. Again, I always know how short our attention spans are in our generation, and the fact that you took 25 minutes out of your life to listen to us is a big deal. Thank you again, HSBN. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next week when we talk about fathers for our Father's Day episode. Stay classy.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.